All right. Well, it looks like it should be working, guys. Let's just wait one more second. All right. I think we're working. So we'll go ahead and try it and see if it works. So thank you for being here today for our weekly Go Live Wednesdays. My name is Jessica Hayes, and I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator with Alignment Rockford. With me today, I have Corey Hughes, is the Chief Technology Officer with Imperial TechWorks. I also have Chris McFadden with us today, who is the Senior Banker with Associated Bank. And to my side here, I have Charles Kluzak as our Academy Coach at Jefferson High School, who is going to help us moderate today's discussion. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate you being here with us today. And Corey, let's go ahead and start with you. Can you tell us about who you are, what you do, and what your company does?
Well, my name is Corey Hughes. I'm a computer guy and just very plain language. But when you get into the depths of it, I do a lot of IT work, which is information technology. So we primarily provide services. Let me get rid of this thing that popped up on my end. So we primarily provide services to local businesses. Say 90% of our market is commercial. We do service residential, but we provide networking services, security services, network support, remote access, which is everybody's safety net these days. Hopefully we're at the tail end of that, but that was huge. Never sold so many cameras in my life as I have between March of last year and where we're at now. So just pretty much anything to do with computers. I mean, and then to go back to the topic of computers or technology in general, we also repair phones, tablets. So just anything computers, anything computer related, we pretty much do, except for like web design.
Okay, that's great. Can you tell us a little bit how you got to where you're at today, being the business owner and Chief Technology Officer, and how did you start your career?
I started my career when I was 7 years old. And what I mean by that?
In IT?
I didn't know it was like just computers. I bought my first computer with Christmas money when I was 7 years old. We're out shopping for Christmas presents, and I bought me a Commodore VIC-20. I don't know if anyone outside of us here, any of the youth I'm talking to, are even gonna know what kind of computer it is. But short of it is, that's how my computer career began. I was in schooling then, and we had computer classes, and we had Commodore, the big Commodores there, and the Apples, and I just fell in love with them. So then I bought that Commodore VIC-20 and just got madly in love with programming. And then kind of sports and girls got in the way and picked it back up in high school and more seriously in college. And I decided to major in computer science. And when I first started out in business, I was doing it all, even web design. But then it got to the point where I realized, Corey, you're spread too thin. So when HTML was still on level 3, that's the coding language. I believe it's on 5 now. It's like, look, you have to pick one or the other. And obviously, I love fixing computers and dealing with people more than I love building websites. So that was the route that I chose to go. So now I work in unison with the people who make the websites. I make it so that their websites work. That's what I do now.
Or make sure that technology works, right?
Make sure the technology works, because technology is great when it's working, right?
When it's working.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much
Christopher.
all. Go ahead.
No, yeah, Christopher, do you want to tell us about what you do at Associated Bank and how you got to where you are today?
Sure, absolutely. So my role at Associated Bank is Senior Bank Manager. And so really my role is to manage the day-to-day functions of the branch, from the customer experience to the sales support, lending through our residential lending team. So a lot of the day-to-day nature of the business is really my goal and responsibility. In addition to that, I focus on talent development. So just really mentoring my staff to the next level, whether it be in another role at in the organization or outside of the organization. So it's really always career development with my team. Yeah, so I've been in banking for about 20 years, and 7 of those years have been here with Associated Bank.
How did you start in this career? Like, how did you get started to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I've always had a passion for the banking industry and understanding credit. So I think credit is my first love. So understanding, how to gain those high limit credit cards, to how to finance loans and things of that nature. So that's always just been a passion for me. And so I actually was in the service industry, food service industry in my younger days. And so someone came to me and said, "Hey, you are meant for greater things. You give off that presence, you should do more." And so this individual is actually in a financial institution. And so it's always stuck with me. And so it was always my ambition to test out the waters in the financial industry. And so I was fortunate enough to get into an entry level position with a bank that's no longer in town. But that position allowed me to understand some of the lower roles within the organization and kind of build my way up to my current position that I am here with Associated.
That's great. And one thing you talk about and that you brought up was career development. You talk about it in your own career, but then you also talk about it within Associated Bank. Can you expand on what career development looks like in that type of, in the bank, or just in that industry in general? What does career development look like?
Well, sure. It's just really kind of grooming yourself to that next role. And so identifying what you want to do moving forward. And so here at the bank, we typically set a 1 to 5 year goal of where we want to be at within that time frame. And so we start to take courses within the organization. We do mentorships within the organization to get us to that next level. And so developing those individuals, making sure they have the tools ready. So when that role comes up, they're able to take advantage of it. And so that's really kind of what it looks like for us.
That's a really great explanation. And it's really great to hear that the opportunities for advancement in the banking career at Associated Bank and, just in that career in general. Corey, could you tell us a little bit about like career development in your type of industry or maybe at your company as well?
Absolutely, because as I mentioned earlier, I majored in computer science, but that was just the beginning of the story. And my field is ever evolving. Everything we do pretty much is cutting edge. So you're never going to come out of college and know everything you need to know. And with each new operating system, be it Windows 7, Windows 10, the latest server platform, which is 2019, the latest messaging server, which is Exchange 2019. There's no way you could train for that coming out of school in the 90s and our college in the 90s and keep current. And that's not even mentioning my networking certifications. I'm certified in Cisco, Barracuda, SonicWall, just to name a few. And it's evolving because you're always having to study. Now, one thing I don't get to do as much as I did when I was just a tech before I started wearing all these hats is I was always in courses, and then I would just always stay on the top of things. Now, I pretty much learn as I go. I'm talented enough to where I can figure it out. And then the good old University of YouTube.
Absolutely.
I tell my kids I would have taken over the world in a friendly way, taken over the world as a youth if I had Google and YouTube. I had to go down to the library, the IDEX system, to Dewey system or whatever it was called to find books. It's so easy now. I mean, you just can absorb knowledge. I feel like that robot on Short Circuit. It just constantly needs input.
It's so funny you say that because it's true. Like my husband, my dad laughs at my husband all the time because he's not, when he goes around the house to fix anything, he's fixing it via YouTube.
Yep. Hey, why not? I mean, if you can do it yourself and do it efficiently and effectively, as long as you're not burning your house down trying to do something. And I know about limitations are, but when it comes to technology, things where I would have had to drive over to the suburbs to learn in the course, now I can do on YouTube. The fun, you miss the fun part, kind of like being at a baseball game. It's great watching it on TV, but you can't match being there. So learning on YouTube is no equal to going to the courses like New Horizons or wherever and being there with your peers from all over the world learning, but you're still learning. So it's ever evolving in the training. And then you teach those under you. I'm known as the old man in the office, and the ones up under me, if they get stuck on an issue, then they come and ask me, and I'm not so arrogant to say I always know the answer. but I can guarantee you that I will figure it out. And speaking of evolving, I tell everybody this: if I don't know, I will get us there. If we were stuck on Gilligan's Island, I promise I would get us home.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. I guess that leads us into the kind of the next question is, I'm 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I want to go either into, banking or into business, both of you into business or IT specifically. What kind of advice would you give a student? Chris, if we want to start with you, what kind of advice would you give a student on maybe some coursework to take, maybe some trainings to do? What would be a good way to prepare them for this career?
Sure. Mentorship programs are an awesome thing if you can get into a mentor program. Really, the service industry as a whole, so whether it be at McDonald's, whether it be at Target, Walmart, if you're working as a customer service person, those type of skills will lend you well in the banking industry because we're a service industry altogether. And so honing those skills, having the people skills ability is really going to be very helpful. So if I could say anything is to hone your people skills ability, because we can train you on everything else. We can't really train you on being a people person. So it's very important. So if I can say that.
Great. That's great advice. Corey, how about you?
Absolutely. I'm going to expand upon right where Chris left off, because one thing I'm often told is like, you're an unusual computer guy. And what I mean by that is they say normally the norm for computer guys is to be grumpy, introvert. I'm better than you. I'm not going to explain. I'm just going to fix it. How dare you ask me what I had to do to fix it? But I'm not that way, because I was raised, kind of like what Chris is saying. I'm a people person. I was raised to treat people the way I want to be treated. So I read even the Dummy series books. I haven't really recommended them now or anymore because people don't read like they used to. But I would actually offend people sometimes saying, you should get Microsoft Word for Dummies. And because I've read it, and you're like, dummy, I'm like, okay. The end of that sentence was, I read it. And what those books did for me is it allowed me to take technical terms and put them into everyday terms that they could understand. And that's what people love about what I bring to the table when it comes to servicing their needs. I give it to them in analogies and terms that they can understand. So very much like Chris said, you have to be a people person. Now, if you're looking at to get into IT, to answer your question, I'd say it's going to have to begin, in my opinion, with a love for technology. I love what I do, and it's true what they say. If you love what you do, then it's really not work. Not every day is not a walk in the park, and every day is not fun, but overall it is. And I don't dread Sundays because Monday's coming. I look forward to going to work. Sometimes I'm bored on Sunday and wish it was Monday. That's how much I love my job. But you have to love technology. I tell people all the time, as much as I love my job, I could not do this if I didn't love it, because it's very difficult. You leave the office or wherever you're leaving from at the end of the day mentally drained, and not physically, just mentally drained, just running on fumes, I like to call it. But it's a rewarding experience when you have a business owner who that's his life's work. That's a lot of times, put use an analogy, people's business is often like their kids. Okay, kids, I'm not saying they're more important than you, but I'm just saying that's how important it is to them. And when you get it going for them, whatever the problem was, that's the equivalent of you taking your child to the doctor and the doctor healing that child. Of course, you're going to be appreciative, and that's how it is, until the next thing happened, and it's like you never did anything good for that person.
Yeah.
It's all about what's wrong now. But it's just, I'd say, have a love for this. Don't come into it because you think you're just going to make a lot of money, which you will. I mean, it pays handsomely, and you're going to earn it, But it's not worth the stress if this isn't what you want to do.
I think, we consistently hear this on a weekly basis from majority of our panelists. Find your passion. When you find your passion, you can find pretty much any work within your passion. Just find your passion and then work will be easy. Charles over here has a question for you guys. He's next.
So first off, thank you guys for doing this and being here. We appreciate it more than you know. I'm looking for some advice to give to my students. And I'll kind of preface it with this. Both of you, as you come on here, are very personable. And I love the fact that, Chris, when you said, when you guys both, be a people person. Corey, when you said what a normal IT person looks like is someone who is older and crotchety and better, and the way you described them is absolutely, that's true when you think about that. And, Chris, when I think about a banker, I think about someone that is wearing, a three-piece suit, a tuxedo, and, clean shaven, and, someone that I'm not going to hang around.
Sure.
And I look at both of you guys as like very approachable and not, you don't fit either one of these stereotypical of what you think a banker and an IT person, what you would expect. And so having said that, what is it that we can do to help our students get past those stereotypes? What is it that we can do? What are ways that we can tell our kids, they may never consider the banking industry because they think this way. How do we get them to look at these career paths if this is their passion without being blinded by the fact that maybe they don't see themselves there?
Yeah.
Well,
no, go ahead, Corey.
Well, I was just going to start by saying, just if you circle back to what I said, if you love tinkering with computers or technology, it doesn't have to be like going real old school, taking a computer apart, replacing the hard drive. But if you just love technology, and especially if you're a video gamer and you're playing for hours anyway, why not get paid to do that? You can design video games. You work for companies. Let that be a return to you, so it can support your lifestyle, and you can have even better equipment to play those games. But just, I don't even know if the kids would know the stereotype that you just described, Charles, as far as the old grumpy person, because computer guys come in all shape, sizes, and colors, and it's just be nice. You're going to have days that are difficult, but just wear it on the inside, not on your sleeve, and have a poker face about it. I tell people that I work with all the time, we're not going to know everything. There's too much technology out there. There's more antivirus companies than I can count. I know what I consider to be the top ones, but you could talk to somebody else who could mention some other top ones that I'm not even aware of. But the point is, just make yourself approachable. Don't be empathetic to what other people are going through, and don't think that they're just being mean. Although it seems like they are. When you have an issue, you're not going to be the nicest that you're able to be. So you have to basically just kind of put yourself in their shoes. I had a wise Chinese friend that once told me, two people can look at the same picture and see two different pictures. So just because it's clear to you doesn't mean it's going to be clear to someone else. So try to look at it through their eyes. And I think that that's going to go a long way as to helping you make it through any career. But you have to want to put the work in and love what you do, so it does not age you and stress you, because those things are things that are going to help you be around for a long time. Stress is not a good bedfellow. So find a way to get rid of that stress, because my job is stressful, but I get rid of it by going to the gym. But it's not stressful in a bad way. I thrive on this. It's some people just do better, as a problem solver. I'm a fixer. And so once I fix that problem, and sometimes going into it, I don't know how it's going to fix it, be fixed. And there's times where I fix problems that the manufacturer couldn't fix just because I have that don't quit ability. And that's what kids today, that's why they're such a great inventors, because as adults, sometimes we form these boxes where we have a lifelong time of shaping our opinions, and we won't even consider this. That's why kids are great inventors, because they're not afraid to try. They don't know what shouldn't work, and they'll try it. And where we won't try it, like, I tried it 15 years ago, it wouldn't work. Well, you were dealing with a whole different environment now.
Yeah.
So that's my feedback on that.
And I would,
that's
just
great.
Oh,
No, go ahead, Christopher. You're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, really just continuing to change the norm, pushing forward the norm. And so when you have individuals like myself, I never thought I'd be in the role that I'm in today, but I continue to push and say, this is something that I believe in, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to learn how to do it and present my best self. And so if you don't see people like me in this role, it's hard to feel like others can't fill that spot. And we're in such a pinnacle point in our country right now that change is good. And so if you feel like you don't fit into that box to come work at the bank, for example, you should and try it, because we accept change. We love change, and it makes things better. And so, have that passion, look for your passion. It's going to take multiple tries. I definitely didn't start out in my mind as a young child thinking that I was going to be a bank manager. I wanted to be a carpenter.
You didn't know that at 7?
Yeah, no, not at all. I wasn't that advanced. So, you just got to find your passion, and people tell you to find your passion, but sample it a lot so that you can understand what you want to do. So absolutely, I would say if you feel something, go forward, no matter what you look like.
Well, yeah, we're coming up here on I told you guys it goes pretty quick. We're coming up on the end here. So I'll just push it back for you guys one more time to see if there's anything else you'd like to add about your experience that you think would be great for a student to know. Christopher, you want to go ahead and start on this one?
I would just say, it's a pleasure being invited to this forum. I think that, I really don't have anything miraculous to say, but I think that it's just important that people find their passion and put their best foot forward. And so if I can say anything, that's the most important thing for me.
Awesome. Corey, how about you? One last piece of advice.
What Chris said. Okay, so
that's it? That's all you got?
It's not that easy then. I'd say just obviously we're talking to students that are still in school. And in my day, they had computer labs in school. So if you're already feeling that you're drawn to those computer labs, then just seek more. Ask your teacher, what can you do next? Maybe what projects can you work on over the summer? Because a lot of times you can go to virtual labs. So ask your teacher about that, even though you don't have access to the school necessarily, as long as you have internet access at home and a computer, obviously, you can log on and do those labs ongoing through school and be that much further ahead for the next school year. And if you're a person who likes to design things, if you like to draw, you might not think of that being related to computers, but it is. It's called graphic design. So if you don't want to punch on any keys and figure out anybody's printer problem, but you like to make cool artwork, there's always a need for logos and other trademark items. There's just so many things for you to do, and so much depth to the technology field. And it's kind of like a home, everybody's going to need technology at some point. So smart homes, who knew that we'd be so busy? In fact, when I get off the session here after change clothes, I'm going to install some Ring cameras for a lady who started with her own doorbell. But she loves the fact that she can see her property, but they travel a lot. So now I'm installing a camera for her husband's he shed, I think is what she calls it, And I'm like, well, how do we get the doorbell to here? This is going to be the 5th camera that she has. And she's just excited about it, and to teach about, and to circle back to what we said earlier about teaching. Now, she's not someone who I haven't worked with, but I taught her about, the security cameras outside. So now it's to the point where these last set that she ordered, I'm only installing one a day, but she ordered 2 more. She went and ordered them by herself without me. So she's learned to do that. She's learning what to look for. She remembered to get the solar panels. So it's just a fun day. I'm just excited that I'm going to be outside. I'll be dripping in sweat in probably a couple hours from now. But
I have to say, though, we've become a very hard. So my Alexa is constantly yelling at me because she hears everything you say. Oh, is she going to go off? Yes. Well, she hears me, right?
They're very big buildings. I was in our shop area yesterday, and the Alice person, I'm saying that word instead of the other word, the Alice person up front stopped playing the music. So I was like, Alice, play Kiss FM. And the one way back in my office started blaring it because I had my speakers on that I'm listening to you guys now on. And I'm like, you little eavesdropper. The one that I was talking to like 10 feet from me. And the one that was like 40 feet away from me is the one that responded.
I know, right?
Not about technology.
Well,
as a kid, everything we're dealing with now, I used to dream about talking to my watch. Now I can start my car from my watch. I can control my house from my watch. I can turn on the air conditioner, turn it off. Whatever I want to do that's Alexa enabled, I can see.
Yep, I hear it. She's going off.
But I'm always looking at how
Oh, that's hysterical.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having
Well,
me. It was my
thank
pleasure.
you so much, you guys, for being here today. I really appreciate it.
No
And
problem.
if there's any students that have any questions, I'm sure it's okay if I reach out and we get you in touch with them if there's any additional questions.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Enjoy the